Hello, hopefully you can see me and hear me fine. Let me know. All good? Great. Can I get started? Give me the thumbs up and I'll get going. Okay, all good. Great. I'll get started then. So, first of all, thank you for having me on this forum and amplifying voices that need to be heard, the interesting stories about humans in general. It's allowing us to have greater empathy and connection with each other. So I'm super thankful for this platform. And it wouldn't be right to go into my story without going way back to even before I was around, which will give you a bit of an idea of why I became the way that I did and what I had to fight through to become a conscious entrepreneur. I've always had this really firm belief, and I have no idea where it comes from, that before time, out of the construct of this world, I was sitting with the divine, I was sitting with them and chatting, and we were talking about how I would figure out who I was. How would I, in my elevated state, knowing exactly who I was, knowing my power, knowing my strength, knowing the importance of my voice, how was I going to come into a world forgetting all of that and still find a way to remember who I am inside? And it's something that I call the soul curriculum. It was everything that was in my way was meant to be there so that I could learn to be the person that I am today. So I was sitting up there with the divine and I was like, do you know what? I'm probably going to have to come from a line of really strong women. The women in my family are going to have to be really strong. They're going to have to be that example. And so I have an incredible matriarchy of women, strong women, my mum, my grandma, and before, that just fought their way to make it in life. My grandma, coming from a tiny village in Cameroon, made her way all the way to the ambassador's house. She was working, she was one of the first women back in her day working in the ambassador's office. She traveled around the world. She had kids that went to schools around the world. One born in Germany, one born in France. And it was wonderful what she created. And then my mum continued that. So I knew that I had to come from a line of really strong women. However, I also knew that I had to go through some pain. I had to go through the experience of being suppressed to know that my voice needed to be heard. And so a lot of my history is around that suppression. It's around keeping the emotions in. It's around having that strong, stiff upper lip, as we say in the UK, and being that perfectionist. One side of coming from a line of strong women is that you're not expected to have feelings, to show feelings. You're not expected to show your true self, because if you do, then you'll hurt. And those are the limiting beliefs that I grew up around. So my whole entire life, before about 5 years ago, I was on that track. I was a super hard outer shell perfectionist, getting great grades, proving the world wrong, showing that I could do anything not only a man could do, but anything someone not of color could do. So I had two big chips on my shoulder around being a woman and also being a person of color. And that is another thing that was part of my soul curriculum. I had to come into this world in this body, in this social construct, so that I could empathize with people who look like me. I could be that voice for them, but also so I could always remember that I am unique. There's no way of hiding this. And maybe if I'd come in a different body, it would have been harder for me to express my true self. So again, all links into what I believe I was brought on earth to learn and to teach. So I struggled the whole time, suppressing my voice, doing what I thought people wanted me to do. I became an incredible people pleaser, which is, not a great thing, but I became incredibly acute at learning what other people needed and doing and being that person and adapting myself and my voice, up to a point that I reached 5 years ago, where I had everything that I wanted. I was on a CEO track for a great Big Four management consultancy. I had a lawyer boyfriend who ticked all of the boxes that I thought I wanted. I lived in the middle of London in an apartment and had a great group of friends, and I was living that life. but I still felt empty. I still felt there was something missing. And part of that was I was missing. I wasn't anywhere in this life that I had created. I'd created this shell of a life that my parents wanted for me, working in the financial industry, working in banking and consultancy. What my friends in society told me was the good relationship, the good type of person to go for, and what I believed about what a great life looks like, which is the flashy life. You have the car, you have the apartment, you have that, you go out, and I was just that person. But I wasn't me. I wasn't me at all. And it took a year. I tell people that my journey might have looked like it started when I quit my 9 to 5, but it started the year before, because it took a year for me to finally introduce myself to myself. It took me a year of digging past. The first 90 days that I started on this journey, I just started with journaling, and I cried every single day. And it was the first time that I had cried since I was, I would say 12, that I can remember. Because again, coming from this strong line of women, we don't cry. We don't cry, we don't show pain, we don't show emotion. So I was blocking not only the quote unquote bad or negative, what we judge as negative, but also all of the great. I wasn't able to feel fully in my relationships. I wasn't fully present anywhere. And I really had to have that moment where I needed to figure out who I was. I needed to meet myself. I needed to create that safe space for me to be me. And it took me a year. It's not a short amount of time. And in that time, I just grew in trust with myself. I started to hear what I wanted to do through all of the noise of what other people wanted. And so it took me that year of discovery to build up the courage and to figure out that the corporate life was not for me. It was this shell that my ego had created to make me feel like I fit in, to make me feel like I was doing everything right, but I wasn't living my life. I was living a life that other people expected me to. And that's how I came onto my journey of conscious entrepreneurship. And it's been a long one. It's continuing. It's a lifelong work, which I love. But along the way, I started to discover even more. So at the beginning, it was just the social construct of being in corporate and having all of the things ticked off that I broke free from. But then it was about also understanding my unique qualities and allowing myself to speak up, having that authentic voice speak through, and speaking about injustices that I saw. So I'm a very big proponent for both women and for people of color, because I see the injustice that happens. I've had the injustice happen not only to me, but to people that I love. And this latest crisis that we've had in our community really pushed me into third gear. It pushed me into a gear that I still didn't know I had. And so I find that I'm constantly waking up to my warrior. I'm constantly awakening and growing and attracting an incredible tribe of warriors as well. And so that's my journey. My journey continues, my story continues. It's wonderful to be surrounded by women who are awakening. We are going through this incredible reset at the moment, where the toxic masculine kind of took over and we were all in this hustle mentality, and the hustle worked. It worked to be the hard worker who stayed later than your boss. It worked to be in corporate. It was safe. And now we're going through this incredible reset. Again, in my soul curriculum, I believe that I was brought in this time for a reason. And the message that I have for my fellow warriors and my fellow women who are listening and who are feeling those senses of awakening, of intuition being stronger, of creativity being stronger, of power from within, because women are powerful, coming from within, then it's your time. There is a time and there is a space for us to be doing something, to be calling out the injustices that we see, to be consciously stepping into business, into entrepreneurship. The old way doesn't work anymore. The old strategizing, the driving, the hustling, the cold sales, it doesn't work anymore. What works now is authenticity. It's showing up as yourself. It's being vulnerable. It's sharing your real story and not being afraid of judgment, because we're all human at the end of the day and we all have something interesting to share and to say. Thank you all so much for watching my little story from corporate to entrepreneurship and trying to tie in everything that comes with my ancestral heritage, which I'm super proud of and super thankful for, because it made me. But it did take me a while to really settle into that truth of who I am, because I was born into a world that doesn't appreciate who I am. So I had to build that appreciation for myself, and I'm loving seeing this new movement of appreciation for all types of people, for all genders, for all races, for all sexual orientations. This is humanity really showing up in the best way, and if you're part of the fight, then I'm in it with you. Sending you all lots of love. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.